All right, to actually get started now. So according to the recent census number, all the counties in our surrounding area have gained pretty significantly in population. So Lake Sanders and Mineral County have all gained about 8% of the population. And nearer to us, Missoula has gained about 8% as well. And then Flathead County has grown by a whopping 15%. And these numbers are from, the 2020 census. So we don't actually know that this is really accounting for any of the COVID-19 related migration that we know is happening. And from our local experience and what realtors have been saying and just national trends, we do know that people are moving to rural areas for improved quality of life during the pandemic. But what we're seeing is that the housing market just really is not keeping up. So from our perspective as an economic development organization, we know that affordable housing is a critical need in our area, and it really affects worker recruitment and retention for our local businesses. It's only getting worse because of COVID. So the city of Polson has recently began calling the situation a housing crisis. And they're citing that they need 936 additional units of housing in the next 4 years just to keep up with the current demand. And that's kind of shocking in a city of only 5,000. So then in the last 2 years, Mission West has also supported the Sanders and Mineral County Housing Task Force in doing these housing needs assessments and action plans. And in those, we found that 67% of employers in Sanders County and 100% of employers in Mineral County were saying that availability and affordability of housing was affecting their ability to hire or retain employees. And then just from a personal experience here, I know hiring at Mission West, we had, when Will came on, it was really key that we help him find housing because it is just such a shortage. And now when we're interviewing people, we're finding that they want to know about what's the housing situation here. So it is a big problem. So jumping into it, just quick overview, what is a co-op? Co-op is a business that's owned and democratically managed by the people that use its products or services. So each member owns one share and they operate on a one member, one vote basis, electing a board of directors that then governs the co-op on behalf of its members. So the co-op operates for the benefit of its members, and rather than pursuing profit as the primary motivation, they pursue member benefit. So any profit that's left over at the end of the year is returned back to the members in the form of patronage or gets reinvested in business to continue to improve those services. So in the case of housing co-ops, the benefit to the members and the owners of the co-op are the residents. So, you might be wondering, how is this different than a condo? So in a condo, each person owns their individual unit to the back of the peat. So usually an outside property manager manages the condo. There's a condo association and a property manager, but each person just owns their individual unit. In a co-op, everyone owns the property together and you own a share in the corporation. So this is compared to, you don't actually own your specific unit, and then everybody democratically manages the cooperative together by hiring a property manager, or they can use a DIY method of self-management. And then compared to the rental situation, that's where a landlord owns the property, charges the tenants to live there. The tenants don't have any ownership, and they usually don't get much say over the property management. So cooperative housing can really take a lot of different forms. The co-op might own the land and the dwellings, so it could be apartments, it could be separate homes. There's even cases where it's separate homes at different sites. The cooperative could own just the land underneath the houses, and then the houses could be owned by individuals. And that's really common with resident-owned communities like mobile home co-ops. The cooperatives could also own the dwellings, but not own the land underneath, and the land could be owned by a community land trust or a community organization. So in that case, most often we see it leased on a long-term lease of 100 years for the purposes of community benefit at a very low rate. So that community organization is aligned with the cooperative. And then there's also co-housing co-ops. And that's where everybody lives in a shared house and they have shared spaces. They manage the house together. So not all housing co-ops have shared space because not everybody likes to have a roommate. And it's important to mention that not all communal living situations are co-ops either. And then finally, this is the model that we're really talking with MCDC about today, is this employer investment model where people can work together, people and businesses and community organizations can work together to invest in the development of real estate and affordable housing for the purposes of the community and workers. So how does equity work in a housing co-op? So in a housing co-op, if you're a member, you're gaining equity just like when you buy a single family home, and that equity appreciates over time. So some housing co-ops are market rate. The equity you have appreciates at the rate of the market, and when you sell your share, you can sell it at the highest price that you can get to anyone that you want, and it's just like buying a traditional home. So there's even like luxury cooperatives in New York City. In a limited equity model, they're really designed to retain that affordability. So a formula will be established in the bylaws that dictates how much your equity share in the cooperative corporation can increase. There's a lot of flexibility in how that can be structured. It could be, 1 to 2% per year. It could be half of the market rate. But the long-term goal is that over time, it becomes more and more affordable to live in. So that's what I'll kind of be focusing on. It's kind of the most promising model for this area, especially with workforce housing. So why would we want to look at co-ops to solve that current housing problem? Well, co-ops can really solve this middle rung of the ladder situation where maybe people, they make too much to be in public housing. They're currently a renter, but they kind of want to step up to the next level, but they maybe aren't ready or don't have the finances to buy their first home, especially in the current market where houses are $400,000. So co-ops can kind of structure it where the equity is at that right level so that people can afford, it's kind of a balance between having equity in something and then a monthly payment. So now I'm just going to kind of running low on time, so I'll just kind of breeze through a couple housing co-op examples. Just looking at these 4, a couple that are local to Montana and a few that are from other states as well. So first we have Riverside Crossing, and I'm not going to talk too much about this one today because I know that Tracy and Davey are going to talk about this one and that they were really involved in getting it started, but it is a senior housing cooperative down in Hamilton. So I know that might be of interest to some of the folks in the room. So let's skip on to the Northwood community. This is actually right here in Pablo. And this is a really typical type of housing co-op that we're going to see it in rural communities. They're called resident-owned communities. So a lot of times people don't think of mobile homes when they think of affordable housing necessarily, but it's the most affordable unsubsidized form of housing in the country. There's 9 million households in mobile homes versus only 1.1 million in public housing. So in the case of this particular resident-owned community, they purchased the park together in 2014, and they also own the infrastructure, and then the residents will either own or lease their own mobile home. And in the co-op model, they get to control how the rent is managed in the park. So a landlord can't just randomly double the rent or sell it to a developer to make some quick cash. The residents get to vote for who sits on their board of directors, and they get a say in how the money is spent in their community. Maybe they want to put it in a playground, or they need to fix some sewer problem that maybe an absentee landlord would fail to address. And this is really a good demonstrated model for cooperative conversions. And there's a national network of almost 200 of these resident-owned communities. And typically we see this used for housing stabilization and affordability, but not necessarily for new construction. So then the next one is the Lopez Community Land Trust. It is a limited equity co-op, like I talked about earlier. And in this case, the Lopez Community Land Trust owns the ground underneath the houses and acts as a cooperative developer. They have developed a total of 6 affordable housing neighborhoods that are limited equity co-ops. And they're very sustainable. 3 of them are net zero energy usage, and there's a total of 43 homes. So residents in this model are, these are new construction. They're selected ahead of time, and the residents participate in the construction of their homes through sweat equity. So they gain some maintenance skills, which are really valuable in the long run for the co-op. And then in the long run, the Lopez Community Land Trust has a lease with the cooperative that's like a long-term lease, and they have some structure for the increases of the cost of that lease. but they're not the property manager. So in this case, members purchase a share in the co-op, which is $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the unit. But if you're the first, if it's not a resale, if you're the first purchaser, you can pay for up to $7,000 of that cost through sweat equity. And then monthly costs range from $300 to $800, and that covers utilities and rent, maintenance and reserves and the cooperative's mortgage. And so in this model, it appreciates at 3 to 5% per year, which is a lot lower rate than the market rate on the San Juan Islands. And then the final co-op example is actually from my home state of Wisconsin. So this is the Perennial Co-op, and they formed in Madison in 2016. And after a group of people 10 people decided to pool their money to make a down payment on the house that's pictured here. And they share 2 living rooms and a large kitchen and 3 bathrooms. So this is a co-housing cooperative. So after their initial member share, which I couldn't find out what the price was, but the average monthly costs at this co-op are only $400 per month. And that covers the co-op's mortgage, which they use to buy the house, the utilities, the maintenance, and then the shared supplies for those shared living spaces. And so if you look at the comparison, it's about $1,300 a month to rent in that average area. So co-op members are expected to share in the labor of the house, and that helps reduce the cost. That's my last example, but here's my contact information. And at this point, now I'm going to turn it over to Tracy and Davey.
I've been to Lake County a lot, so some of you guys may or may not have seen me in the past. I was on your resource team for META. I've done some private work down here, and I've been the economic developer in Northwest Montana for about 14 years before I took the role as the Cooperative Development Center. So I know Lake, I don't know Lake though, okay? So I'm excited to be here today, and we'll just keep plugging away. So first, we just want to kind of go an overview of who we are. So we are the Montana Cooperative Development Center. We promote and develop cooperatives across the state of Montana. We are part of the statewide economic development organizations. And really our idea is to just utilize the cooperative model. We are working in everything. We're doing housing, we're in childcare, we're doing workers, we're doing ag, we're doing, you name it, we seem to be working on it right now. And then I opened my big mouth at a meeting last week, and the Department of Commerce person's like, oh, you're gonna stay so busy. So we're hopping and doing a lot of different stuff, but it's exciting because our laws in Montana allows us to do a lot of really creative cooperative development work. So the way that we operate is there are 4 of us in the state office. Dee is actually in an office in Helena. I'm in Great Falls. And then we contract out to cooperative development specialists all across the state. And we provide some basic training for them so they can be entry points and they can kind of get cooperatives going at any given time. A part of what we do is, I mentioned when I introduced myself that we also are the Council of Cooperatives. So the Council of Cooperatives is about 100 cooperative trade association. We serve all sectors. So right now, a lot of people, there's the Electrical Association, there's Credit Union Association, and Telecommunication. We serve all of those guys all belong to us. And then we also act as the Ag Council. So this is when we're talking about the ecosystem, we're really about trying to create this whole conversation. We also come with a series of legal and accounting professionals. So I think Haley pointed out she had printed off some of our impact reports. I'm going to talk about those in a second. But co-ops are not new in the state of Montana. They've been around for a long time. There's about 140-ish. It's kind of hard for us to pinpoint. Some of the ag ones have consolidated, some of the credit unions have consolidated, and some have separated. So we kind of have a running target, but we have co-ops in every corner of the state, including Dagmar. Tiny little town outside of Peerless has a co-op. We found out it's very active and it's the coolest little thing in the world. So the cooperative economy of Montana, this is the impact report if you want to read the whole thing, or you can look at this nice shiny infographic that Davey formed for us. Cooperatives at the end of the day are contributing $7.6 billion in the state of Montana. We're not small, we're a major industry, we're just trying to get that word out. So I think I'm gonna skip some slides too, because Davey, wrong one, Keely's already covered a few of these. The slides are available for you guys at any time too. So cooperatives, all when we form them, and all co-ops across the global follow 7 guiding principles. Open and voluntary membership, which means you cannot discriminate. We have concern for community, democratically controlled. Cooperation among co-ops, members, economic participation. So if you belong to a co-op, please be involved in that co-op. Education and training, and then autonomous, which means that at no given time can one person take control of a cooperative. A co-op is 1 vote per 1 membership. And so it doesn't matter if you put more money into it, you can never buy a co-op out from anybody. That's a big part of why co-ops are so important. There's over 2.6 million co-ops worldwide. Over 1 billion people belong to cooperatives, and 12.6 million people work for cooperatives. We've also been in formation since, well, I like to go 1776 because there's a model that Benjamin Franklin started. Technically, though, it's 1846 or something like that, Rochdale pioneers, but we're definitely old. I get a lot of comments. Oh, this is a newfangled idea. Well, no, we're one of the oldest forms of businesses in the US and world. So in the state of Montana, we have 4 different types of cooperatives. Housing co-ops actually fall underneath the cooperative association, which is a for-profit model in the state of Montana. One thing we want to make sure people understand is that co-ops are state controlled. So they are this global business program. States have controlling factors and laws, so we have to follow both. And in the state of Montana, these housing co-ops we fall under a chapter 15. Our investment co-ops follow underneath that as well. So getting into housing specifically, I'm not going to go through that. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping slides so it's not repetitive. Because Kaylee did a great job of covering those. Okay, so let's jump into the one in Hamilton. So Riverside Crossing is the first actual housing cooperative in the state of Montana. So only real co-op. Our state laws, the ROC USA program, the mobile home parks that Kaylee talked about, those are considered a for-profit. They're a quasi-co-op. But at the end of the day, we have Riverside Crossing, though we have many more coming online. Hopefully, we're working on them. Riverside Crossing is I'm gonna flip back. So it's a pocket community. This was formed, and it took a while, just because it was the first one, it took us a while to actually pull it together. And what they did is that it was a partnership between Ravalli County Economic Development Authority and their Council of Aging. The Council of Aging received a land, and then they were able to build the co-op on top of that land. So it has 8 cottage designs. The size, the square feet are kind of ranged. And then it also has a price to occupy. So you have to pay your construction cost for the model that you're choosing. And it ranges 190,000 to, whoops, I've just been signed out on Zoom. Yeah, it says you have been signed out because you're currently signed in on another device. Sorry, roll in wrong.
I still see your shared screen.
Okay, as long as we're still good. I just, it popped up here and I was like, oh no. So it is also limited equity, so it has a 1% growth to ensure that will always be affordable. No, I can't. Sorry, guys. Slide forward. So they're in phase 1. I did this slide deck a while ago And I think they're at 9 or 10 members now with houses being built. They're moving forward pretty quickly on quite a few. They have monthly charges that cover all this stuff. Again, I'm not going to read through every little thing. What's my time frame?
You have until 4:50.
Okay. So it's beautiful though. So if you ever get a chance to go down to Hamilton and look at Riverside Crossing, it is gorgeous. I would put these in so you can see the different sizes. You do have to be 55 or older. It's an active senior housing complex. Sorry, it flipped up a weird thing on here. And then they have a lot of outdoor space that the co-op owns. So again, as Kaylee was saying, the cooperative owns the ground. Well, the ground is owned by the Council of Aging. The co-op is built on, and all the amenities are on top of it. So this is a structure and type of partnership. Davey and I have been having a lot of conversations with the different land trusts across the state and Trust Montana about the opportunity for them to own the land and kind of mimic this partnership. But these guys put in gardens. They have this amazing fireplace, outdoor fireplace area. I'm telling you that the co-op development director down in Ravalli and I, this is where we're going to end up. And if you ever know Julie Foster, you know me, God help us. But we're going to have that. They have garages, they have libraries, they have a whole workspace. It's really a great program. So now jumping into opportunity development co-ops or investing co-ops. Normally Davey's like super excited and jumping because these are her favorite type, but she's been kind of mellow today. So we'll see. She'll correct me, yeah. So what is an opportunity development cooperative? Or an investing co-op. So the opportunity development co-op is really a means of a cooperative where everybody pulls their money together and starts investing together. It is a for-profit co-op. They're kind of newer into the state of Montana. We've been doing a lot of research and development work. Alberta has quite a few of these in play that we have been able to model, and we've brought Dan Fuller in a few times to talk to us. They become an opportunity for local people to get local solutions. That's kind of our tagline. It might be a little corny, but that's kind of how we feel about it. It's a means for people to start investing in their own backyard. Yeah, I told you guys, technology. So as with anything, we form these co-ops just like we would any other form of cooperative. We create a steering committee. That steering committee designs what that cooperative is going to look like, what that investment is going to be entailing, how they're going to invest, how they're going to raise money. You can sell, so I'm going to kind of back up a little bit. There's two forms of stock in cooperatives. There's common stock. The common stock is how you purchase your ownership into that cooperative. So common stock can be the same for everybody in this room, or we can layer it based on different benefits. And then there's preferred stock. Preferred stock is an investing option. Davey and I can both be common stock members. She can be a preferred stockholder. It does not give her any more voting power than I do. And so it is truly an investment. It's called preferred because when the co-op starts making money, their investment gets paid out first. So we can do that in opportunity development co-ops or investing co-ops.
Try the arrow. Yeah, there.
Just use that. Okay, because I was using that and then the other thing popped up. So we're gonna get it. Okay. I think we went backwards. Okay. So investing co-ops are created underneath the chapter 15 in Montana. Preferred stock has a limitation of 6% of gain. So at an annual year, you can't grow more than 6%. We may try to increase that in the next legislative session to get us up to at least the federal level at 8. But what we really try to get across when we're talking about investment co-ops is if the opportunity for the community to invest in their own, it's not going to be an opportunity where everybody's going to get rich. That's part of why we've been rebranding them more as the opportunity development, So people understand that, yes, you're investing, yes, you may get a return. It has a risk like any other investment. Is this going to be a huge income for you? Yeah, probably not. Will you have a social investment and a return on the reason why you were creating it? Absolutely. So going in specifically for housing. So we have two kind of under operation right now. Gardner, Montana was the first in our state to start looking at a real estate investing co-op. They created a cooperative, it's out of employers. So that includes, I believe, the park, the school, the county, a lot of the bigger employers in Gardner. What Gardner was facing is similar to what I'm hearing from a lot of communities across the state, is that they no longer have a place for workforce. A lot of their homes have been converted to Airbnbs. Secondary homes were kind of outstripping the market for anybody working in the community. And so they've come together, they've created the co-op. They are in process of getting their subscriptions in place. COVID delayed them a little bit. COVID, major fire in Gardner kind of hurt them a little bit. And then they also had some health issues going on, some of their leadership, but they are there, it's fully incorporated, and that model is now in the state of Montana. So that's the good news too, is that co-ops like to help each other, and we love sharing what we've done in the past. So we have that model. Livingston is under exploration of one. We are talking about the opportunity of community-owned ones. So all of you guys want to pool your money together and start buying units, we can do that. You can create new co-ops or new buildings, or because we have so many flexibility, we can create a hybrid model of a variety of different means. So I'm going to jump in with anything. What have I forgotten? Not yet. I haven't forgotten anything yet. Okay. So really, these are the phases in forming a cooperative. We're really in this first exploratory phase is when we're talking about you're introducing the ideas to the community. What would work? Would a traditional housing work more for this area? Would a hybrid model work, or do you want to do investing, or do you want to do all three and layer? Because that's a lot of fun. And it's not like we're not doing that elsewhere. Then you'll move into the planning phase. This is where we form the steering committee, and that's really the group that we work with. And that steering committee is really responsible for forming the co-op. They're the ones that are going to design your bylaws. They're going to design the business plan. They're going to make sure that the operation cash flow is in place, how that's going to look, what will be the members, what structure are the members, what are the costs to be a member, all of that stuff. That steering committee really is the key part of forming the co-op. And then we move you into legal phase. We have all those documents. We kind of help you move through that. We do have legal on board that reviews everything at that time. You then move out into subscriptions. There's some very strict laws in the legal phase, so we make sure that you get through all of that correctly. And then you start moving into your operational phase where you can collect money and you actually move into whether it's building or full-on operations. So again, no co-op that we work with in the state is the same. So we don't have a cookie cutter approach. Every cooperative is a little bit different, as every community is a little different.